Folks, we have a shocker. Iran says the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Of course they do. But the question is why? Well, because every time they say it, the world flinches. And this time they're doing it right after our so called ally in the region struck Lebanon again. You see, when it comes to Iran, nothing says a responsible regional actor like threatening global oil, quite frankly, over somebody else's war. But here's a twist. You see, Iran says it's closed. The data says that ships are still moving. So the real question isn't, is it closed? It's how much chaos can Iran cause simply by saying that it is. So we're going to break down these claims because you have the right, they're playing defense. The left, I don't want to shock you again, is melting down. And the center, now they fear this whole thing is shaping up to be one big fat disaster deal wearing a victory hat. The Joe Rossano Show is next. Welcome to the Joe Rossano Show. Hi, I am Joe Rossano. And I will tell you this, folks, I'm still going to say that the U.S. did not lose the war. Okay. The United States inflicted a heck of a lot more casualties on Iran than Iran did the United States. However, this deal a little shaky and it's kind of quite frankly a little foggy. And now you got Iran saying the Strait of Hormuz is closed, and you have just about every outlet out there either saying we love Trump, he got everything he wanted, or we hate Trump, it's terrible. Or you have the center who thinks, quite frankly, that the deal is not very good. So I'm going to show you some clips and we're going to analyze and discuss. Before I do, please be so kind. Click the subscribe button, hit like, share, comment, click the notification bell for our latest episodes of the Joe Rossano Show. So we're going to take a look at some clips here and let's see just how long we can all keep straight faces here, because I got to tell you, I'm really having a hard time. So here we go.
Just off the phone with President Trump. He says this about the strait. He says, you close the strait and you won't have a country. Reportedly told the Iranians directly, you won't even make it back to your bleeping country. Went on to say, we may take over the strait if we have to. I'll blow the bleep out of them. Where are we this morning with the strait? Because the IRGC keeps saying you're not going to be safe if you try to transit a vessel here. We're saying vessels are making it through.
Yes, Shannon. In the last 24 hours or yesterday, 67 ships went through the Strait of Hormuz. The day before it was 55 ships. So, and in terms of oil and oil products, about equal to where we were before the conflict. So yeah, traffic is flowing through the straits quite nicely. Now that's because of a U.S. military presence. Iranians still have not demined the central shipping channel, but the U.S. opened a separate channel down south. And we've been escorting ships through that for several weeks now, and at very high levels today.
Let me think about that one. So let me tell you what the gentleman just said here, the Energy Secretary, is that 67 ships went through the Strait of Hormuz, and this is, of course, when Iran says that the strait is closed, but he's saying it's at levels before the war. If I were him, I probably wouldn't have said that. All right. I mean, Iran basically wants everyone to believe it could shut down the world with a press release. It does. It's not closed. It's Iran waving a gun around, hoping somebody panics. And the threat alone screws with the oil, insurance, and the markets, which is exactly the point. Iran doesn't need to close the Strait of Hormuz. It just needs the world to be afraid that it's going to. Enough to act like we better listen to Iran because the United States lost the war. So let's run another clip here. And again, as always, folks, I like to let you decide. So next clip.
McCormick sits on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and joins us now. Senator, what do you hear came out of day one?
Well, just early steps. I mean, the bottom line here is that we wouldn't be at the negotiating table if we hadn't made huge progress in taking out drones. So the president's done a great step forward by reducing their nuclear capability and doing all he's done. Now, this 60 days, we got to make sure the preconditions that he laid out are satisfied, which number one, the Strait has to be open with no controls by Iran. Number two, there can be no path to a nuclear weapon, and they have to turn over their enriched uranium. And three, and this is the part that I think will be tricky, is we have to make sure there's only pay for payments. In other words, they can't get the sanctions relief that's contemplated in the MOU until they actually take tangible steps.
Well, I don't know about you folks, but sounds like a pain in the ass to me. So basically what their argument is that the pressure worked. Okay. But Iran should not get a dime until it actually does something besides threaten the planet. All right. So Senator McCormick's message basically no gold stars for terrorists. Okay. The right says Trump Vance dragged Iran back to the table by the throat. But the real question is whether America is negotiating from strength or whether Iran just figured out that threatening Hormuz is the new buy one, get one free crisis, get concessions free coupon, because that seems to be what it is. Okay. So every time the United States pressures Iran, we're closing the Strait of Hormuz, or the right will say, well, ships are flowing just like it was before the conflict, which makes whoever says that about the dumbest sumbitch alive. So, but never fear, folks, because we're going to get an angle here from our friends at MS Now. Morning Joe. We know how smart they are. As you know, I'm afternoon Joe. So let's take a look here.
For the New York Post. It's with Strait of Hormuz held hostage, Trump's Iran deal is worse than Obama's. And in it, the editorial board blasts Trump for allowing Iran to be able to dictate the terms of the strait, writing in part this: why would opening the door for administration of a previously free international waterway even be part of this agreement? How is this in any way the unconditional surrender Trump described? The Post argues, quote, the rest of the 14-point plan is almost entirely about what Iran gets: immediate sanctions relief on exported oil, protection of Hezbollah from Israeli attack, and the possibility of a $300 billion reconstruction fund if all goes well with the next round of talks. No mention of Iran reining in its terror proxies in Gaza, Lebanon, and Yemen. No restriction on conventional weapons. No mechanism to surrender the enriched uranium it has already created.
Well, that can't be good news now, can it? Basically, what they're saying is Trump talk like he was Rambo. I'm your worst nightmare. And he negotiated like it was HR. I mean, Trump demanded unconditional surrender. And nobody that is a clear thinking person can say he didn't. Then signed something that looks more like a group project outline. That's the problem. The left says Trump promised a knockout, and basically he delivered a participation trophy. They argue Iran still has a heck of a lot of leverage, and Hormuz is their favorite pressure point. And the harshest hit, where they really hit it, Trump set the bar so darn high, folks, and that is true. Gotta give the folks at MS Now, which I rarely do, credit. Trump did set the bar so high. All right. He oversold and underdelivered. All right. I mean, exactly what he did. Um, when you talk about total surrender and then this deal that no regime change and a bunch of money and assets for Iran just doesn't sound like total surrender to folks, which is probably leads a lot of folks to say the U.S. lost the war. They didn't lose the war. They're having a hard time winning the peace. And just about all sides, whether you are on the far left, the far right, or in the middle, they don't like the deal. And now everyone is comparing this deal to the fantasy that, quite frankly, he sold everyone. Basically, Mother Teresa is going to take over Iran. It's going to be a friendly country. We're all going to put our bathing suits on and hang out at the Strait of Hormuz. And oil is going to be 75 cents, or gas going to be 75 cents a gallon. And quite frankly, again, he should have just let it play out. But we all know, President Trump's not going to do that. Got one more clip for you here. Again, in my opinion, these hits they just keep getting better. So let's do the last one here.
The president signed an absolutely disastrous memorandum of understanding with Iran that undoes all the hard work he put in over the last 4 months. That work was significant. The Trump administration squashed Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer and further reduced its missiles and nuclear capabilities by decimating the country's military and industrial base in the first few weeks of the campaign.
Okay, so what are we saying here? All right, everybody hear that? So let me break this down for you. So basically, what happened here, okay, is Iran, they start a fire and then they get rewarded for blowing on it. I mean, which is basically what happened here. Obviously the center right are skeptical. Okay. Don't let Iran create a crisis and then get paid to stop making it worse. Everybody kind of understand that now. The fear is Iran threatens the Strait of Hormuz. It rattles the markets, then walks into negotiations like, so what's my prize? Okay. Or I'm going to threaten the world's oil supply again if you don't do what I say, Donald. We're not surrendering here, sir. This is where Trump gets hit from both sides. The left says he caused chaos. The right says he's rewarding that chaos. And the only thing that matters now is whether the deal actually does anything. Inspections, uranium proxies, and whether Hormuz stays open without Iran asking for toll money. All right. So here's where I land. Iran says the Strait of Hormuz is closed. All right. We know that. The evidence says it isn't, quite frankly, but the leverage, the fear, the economic chokehold, you see, that part is very, very real and it's intentional. The right says Trump and Vance muscled Iran back to the table with the military operation. The left says Trump talked like a warlord and negotiated like a guidance counselor. Are they wrong? I mean, I'm dying to say they are. And the center, this whole thing could be a disaster deal if Iran gets rewarded for scaring the world half to death, which is what they do. Every time they say the Strait of Hormuz, gas prices go up, food prices go up, causes all kinds of chaos. You see, this isn't diplomacy. It's extortion with oil tankers. So before anyone starts celebrating, I want answers. Are inspectors actually going in? Is uranium being capped or just politely discussed? Are they getting that nuclear dust and taking it to the Aberdeen Proving Ground in Maryland and destroying it. Are sanctions tied to real performance? Are Iran's proxies being leashed? Hezbollah, the Houthis. It's just murky. It's just murky right now. Most importantly, can ships move through the darn strait without Iran holding the world by the throat? Because if the answer is no, then this isn't peace through strength. It's a hostage negotiation with a flipping shipping lane. So at the end of the day, folks, the United States didn't lose the war, okay? So anyone who says, well, Obama's deal was better, or Obama's deal does the exact same thing, well, not so fast. Difference between the Obama deal and the Trump deal is Trump slammed their mountainous underground bunker with bunker busters. All right. He destroyed infrastructure. He destroyed, I would say, the vast majority of their Navy, pretty much all their Air Force. And again, not saying that they shot planes out of the sky, because no planes could take off. Okay. Anybody who knows anything about warfare or a war theater knows the United States clubbed them. And that's that. It really is. It got to a point where Iran didn't want to get attacked anymore. So they said, let's make a deal. Now, consider this very carefully. If, let's say, China fired missiles into Las Vegas, Nevada, kills President Trump or Nancy Pelosi or whomever you like out there, would the United States make a deal? Would they really? Would they make a deal? So if Iran was not getting torched, they wouldn't have made a deal. Now, would they? The problem is that the deal is soft. And that's what a lot of people think, that the deal's murky, it's soft, it's foggy. Now, why is that? Now, here's the ending here, folks. You do have the midterm elections coming up. This war, honestly, it's just not popular. It isn't. Most folks oppose military action in Iran. And don't think for 1 second that President Trump doesn't know that. He knows that. And that's why, quite frankly, he's just trying to get this done fast. He wants to be able to say the war's over and we won. And here's why we won, because Iran is giving up its nuclear program. They're not procuring nuclear material or nuclear weapons elsewhere. The strait is opening up. But again, Iran gets a lot of money again. It seems like every time these folks behave badly, they get money. So what happened? United States won the military confrontation. Okay? They blew up more stuff than Iran blew up. That's a fact. That's a fact. If you don't believe me, YouTube Iran and then YouTube most of the United States. There's no missile rubble here. But a lot of concessions made by the president, I regret to say. And most critics like myself hope that those concessions, that Iran will even capitulate and follow those concessions. Or do they get their money back and make nuclear and develop nuclear weapons again? Well, I guess we'll see. As always, my dearest friends and fellow Americans, graciously appreciate you hanging out with your pal, Joe Rossano. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, click the notification bell for our latest episodes of the Joe Rossano Show. Don't you forget, if you get an opportunity, please adopt yourself a pet. God bless you, my dearest friends and fellow Americans, and we'll see you next time.